What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam, and over the last couple of weeks we had some very exciting Hot Toys figures get unboxed. Last week we had a 101 figure collection tour video come out, and now this week we are adding figures 102 and 103. Yesterday's figure unboxing was for the yellow and red suited Daredevil from She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and we definitely have a lot of thoughts about this suit, so go check out that video if you haven't already. And we'll definitely be doing a side-by-side comparison with that figure and the Netflix Daredevil suit that I unboxed last week, and if you haven't seen those videos, go check those out. But today we are unboxing She-Hulk from She-Hulk Attorney at Law to pair up with my She-Hulk Daredevil, and she looks really good on the cover here. The flowy hair with kind of the purple accent. I love the purple suit that she's got. The shade of green is just right. Jennifer Walters. And a lot of people didn't like the She-Hulk show. Me personally, I thought Jennifer Walters, whether she was in the Tatiana Maslany form or in the She-Hulk form, looked really good. And, you know, just to have like a week-to-week lawyer show, but still have Marvel shenanigans going on, Wong, Daredevil showing up, you know, Abomination doing his own thing over there with Tim Roth. Like, some funny stuff, but also some really good stuff going on. And, you know, maybe the ending kind of sucked. Maybe there were some parts in She-Hulk that sucked. But in the grand scheme of things, I want to see She-Hulk back in the MCU. And I want to see Daredevil back in the MCU. Maybe fucking She-Hulk again. But you can see Jen on the side of the box there. Legal information around the back. Store locations. Warnings. Another She-Hulk pose here on the side of the box. Nothing too crazy going on. She-Hulk up top. Yeah, nothing too crazy. And this is TMS 093. So the Daredevil was 96. So who's 94, 95 in the TV Masterpiece series in between She-Hulk and Daredevil's She-Hulk? Interesting. But either way, sliding off the top of this box. First time I've actually been able to do this. So what has this got? She's got a cell phone. She's She-Hulk herself. Looks very large. She's got some hands. Nothing too crazy going on. The inside box, much like the Daredevil, where on the outside it was maroon and on the inside it was yellow. On the outside for She-Hulk it was purple, and on the inside you got this nice green cover, and you can see She-Hulk. I think that's figure photography on the side of the box. Same as the back of the box. She's got a cell phone in one hand, and she's kind of got the other hand out like, come on bitch, I'm on the phone, can't you see? But She-Hulk on the back there. Another She-Hulk pose on the side of the box. Nothing too crazy going on. So let me take this figure up out of the box and take my first in-person look at She-Hulk. Although for this figure I don't think you'll need them. Instructions down bottom, make sure you read them so you don't fuck up your figures. I'm certainly not going to be at fault. It's on you if you break your stuff, so always read your instructions. But just popping off the top of this plastic tray here and pulling out She-Hulk. Ooh, I don't even want to look at her yet. Just her friggin' hands. Big old green hands, maybe like she's doing the thunderclap. She's got like cuticles. Honestly, the same skin tone, they could probably make an Alphaba figure from, like, you know, Wicked. They could do the Wicked Witch of the West. But there's also a cell phone in here. What does the cell phone say? Find your perfect match. Oh, right. So Jen Walters was on a dating app in the show, and nobody wanted to date Jen Walters, but everybody wanted to date She-Hulk. So let's take our girl up out of this box and see what she's coming looking like. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Take a look at the head sculpt. Honestly, not bad. Not bad. That hair's flowing. She's thick as a brick. Oh my goodness, bro. Oh my goodness. I don't know what I was expecting, but oh my god, I am impressed. I am impressed. I am happy with what I'm seeing. Wow. So, medical silicone legs, which I didn't think was going to be real. I thought maybe sculpted plastic or something, kind of like the other figures. But not a lot of my figures have like fully exposed legs. So she's like, she's cheeked up. Look at the butt. Jesus Christ, bro. Hot Toys, that's not okay. You guys, what? That is the most cheeks I've ever seen on a figure, for sure, in my collection. That might be the most cheeks. Look at that. That is insane. That is the most cheeks on any figure probably ever. But does she have... Yeah, she's like got solid plastic chest, but medical silicone all the way to like right below the ass. And then it looks like there's maybe some on the ass, but then upper ass feels like there's sculpted plastic underneath there. Chest, boobs, plastic, but the arms are back to medical silicone, but instead of like the normal medical silicone that you see on like 4 figures or something, or like John Cena's Peacemaker there, it's green and it's like slightly skinnier because it's a female arm still, but it's still a Hulk arm, so it's like green and thick and damn, I was not expecting this at all. She's got like some shoes, some high top purple and white shoes. Now I have seen people like, I think, take off her legs and like roll up her outfit so that she's in like more of a comic book accurate outfit. I mean, I see why they would do that because they want to show off more of them cheeks, but still, this is an insane figure. And just look at the size comparison between her and She-Hulk, between Daredevil and She-Hulk. Like, this is standing at the same height. Look how much taller she is. Like, that's awesome. But, wow, this is going to be tons of fun. I can't wait to pose her and see what she's capable of and see what she looks like next to Daredevil. So, let's not waste any more time for y'all. Let's take out all of her accessories up out of this box, lay them out on the table in front of me here, and we'll take a closer look at everything Miss Jen Walters She-Hulk has to offer. Oh, right, y'all. We got my girl Jen Walters, aka She-Hulk, in front of us here with all of her accessories laid out on the desk. And as you can see, she doesn't come with too much. I think most of the money for this figure went into the medical silicone arms and legs and mostly body and, you know, sculpting a completely new figure because it wasn't like there was any type of base body structure they could have used for her. So, you know, her whole body is completely new. Where like Daredevil, they had the old Daredevil figure suit to start with, and then they went from there, you know what I mean? But the actual suit herself, the colorway of her spandex outfit, the black, the purple, the white, I always loved it in the show, and I think it looks pretty spot on. Maybe the shade of blue, it could be a little bit more vibrant, like the box color, but I bet that more muted shade of purple was the actual more close color for what they had in the show and on set and like what it would have looked like in person. But down here with the hands, as you can see, she has some splayed out hands, some more like, you know, maybe she's reaching out and grabbing you hands. She has 2 clapping hands, but you can also kind of do like the heart symbol as kids do these days because they don't do that crap anymore. They do it that way. So, you know, you could have heart hands or thunder clapping hands. And then she has 2 hands to be able to hold the cell phone on either side. And, you know, maybe you could use these as like pointing hands or something too. But, you know, glad that they at least included those for both sides. And then we have 2 fist hands and 2 kind of relaxed hands, kind of clapping hands as well, but you can see how close that you can get it to her body down by her side, which is also a really nice touch and something that, you know, they're doing more and more with these newer figures, you know, making them be able to stand there naturally and not have this like weird T pose or A pose, if you know what I mean. But the one thing I can tell at the moment is that She-Hulk head sculpt could use some work, or it's just the eyes aren't currently aligned, and probably from when I had to take off the head sculpt, and maybe also the paint work, you know, maybe on her cheek or something there, maybe looks like the paint, you know, could have been more smooth and maybe the paint puddled up or pulled up or something on them. You know, it looks like she maybe got some acne underneath there. But I'm curious to see if we can move that eyeball around and change how she looks and maybe make her look a little bit better. Because right now that head sculpt, she looks a little dazed and confused. And then I don't know if you can really see it because we're super zoomed in here, but the phone does say that Jen Walters was looking for her perfect match, and she's kind of got like the dating app from the show on her phone screen, which is a nice little touch. But then other than that, you know, nothing too much else going on with this figure. We'll look more closely at her in a moment as well, but, you know, just down by her feet, she's got those
what, size 15s or whatever those are, and they're kind of like maybe like Converse, but like they got this white and purple color scheme going on, kind of like high tops, kind of cool. And then she comes with that little plastic piece that is for being able to adjust her eyeballs, and that base and figure herself we'll take a look at now. The base, of course, has a crotch grabber, and you can see how high you have to put that up to be able to adjust for She-Hulk's tall body. But She-Hulk Attorney at Law on top there, a little reflective green in the middle, a more grippy purple on the outsides. But the green probably has, what, LA or San Francisco or wherever she was for the She-Hulk show in the background there. Not a bad touch either. Marvel Studios on top. But just to check out this figure herself, she can stand on her own pretty well. The legs are like this squishy medical silicone, and they feel like so lifelike, and in the calves and thighs, it feels so creepy. But like, you know, first character I think I have with medical silicone legs, and like, I mentioned this earlier, but like, you know, medical silicone all the way up to a certain point, and then you can kind of see the crease line where the medical silicone stops, and then like hard plastic starts. But Jesus, cheeked up for a character. She-Hulk, good for you. But then like also medical silicone stops at a certain point, like right at the hips of the thighs up front here, and then it's sculpted plastic all through the midsection. Chest is sculpted plastic, neck is sculpted plastic along with like the head. But yeah, so let's see if we can pop that head sculpt off and adjust those eyes for a little bit better shot. All right, yeah, with the eyeballs turned actually in the same direction, the head sculpt actually comes to life a little bit more, but you can still kind of tell what I was talking about on that like right cheek there. Some of like the paintwork maybe got a little blotchy, and it looks like maybe she's got some acne or something, but it's not the biggest deal. I still think the actual design for She-Hulk in the show was flawless, and she looked so freaking good, especially for her like first appearance. You know, like if we're comparing that appearance of She-Hulk to like, you know, Hulk 1 Hulk, you know, I think she looks comparable, if not better. But also, you know, she's a female character. She's not as jacked, and, you know, doesn't have stubble and all these different things that the Hulk character has that makes him look that good, and like looks exactly like Mark Ruffalo in, you know, the later movies. Once we get to like Professor Hulk, it is Mark Ruffalo. I do only have one other Hulk in my collection, so maybe I'll be able to toss them next to each other once I put them on the shelf, and we can get a little bit of a side-by-side of two Hulks together. But I definitely want to toss this character next to Daredevil from She-Hulk as well, but we'll do that closer to the end of this episode as well. So why don't we toss this bad girl into some poses and see what She-Hulk is capable of? Oh, right, everybody. We got Jen Walters, aka She-Hulk, from her own TV show, She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And we got this figure spinning around on the turntable base for us here, just standing straight up and down, just as she comes, fresh out of the box. But I kind of have her trying to stand in like a pose to show off how close those arms can get down by her side, because this figure, for an engineering standpoint, is very impressive. But then in her second pose, I tossed a, you know, more of a hulky pose, and she's got a fist punching into her palm like she's intimidating whoever she's about to fight against. And then she's got one hand out in front of her like she's about to grab you and then punch you with the other hand. And just the longest of legs, but the medical silicone gives this figure such a weight. It just feels so good to pose and try and get into these various different poses. Like the next one here where she's throwing a front kick, or if anyone does jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai, a little bit of a teep, if you know, you know. But, you know, throwing a front kick, and like it was a little bit hard to get her to stand with the crotch grabber, but, you know, with the crotch grabber, maybe you could toss a waist grabber on her, and, you know, you should be able to pull off any pose you could possibly imagine with this figure. But then I have her with her clapping hands in, like maybe she's gearing up for a thunder clap. But then also the way I have her, maybe it looks like she's like shrugging, like MJ, just kind of like, And And then in this final pose here, I have one hand on her hip as if she's being sassy. And she's like, you know, check out my figure, check out my game. Maybe she's taking a selfie for her dating profile. And that's what it says on her phone there. So she's got her phone in one hand like she's texting. Maybe she's texting Matt, aka Daredevil, because if you guys missed yesterday's unboxing, I did unbox Daredevil from the She-Hulk series as well in his yellow and maroon suit. So why don't we toss those two next to each other and see what these two She-Hulk figures are looking like. So She-Hulk and Daredevil side by side together, and you can just see how much taller She-Hulk is than Daredevil, and I love that size comparison. And like, yeah, she's not as big as say the other Hulk, but she is definitely still a Hulk, and she is much bigger than any other female character I'm ever gonna have in this collection. And you know, Matt is a little bit undersized for male characters. You know, I think he's only about 5'8", maybe 5'9", 5'10" in real life. So you know, I think She-Hulk standing something like 7 feet tall, maybe even 8 feet, who knows. But I 100% want to see more She-Hulk, whether it's in a second season of her own show, or if we can just use this character elsewhere, you know, whether it's in Avengers Doomsday, and there was rumors that there might be a Hulk planet with a bunch of different Hulks, with She-Hulk appearing there. So, you know, that was concept art that I had seen, so maybe that's not gonna happen, but maybe it does. But also, like, you know, She-Hulk season 1, a lot of people didn't like, but I personally thought it was hilarious, and I loved that, like, you know, we had bits in that show like Captain America fucks and Daredevil fucking She-Hulk, you know, and She-Hulk, you know, brought sex back to the MCU. Like, hell yeah. Like, you guys can't possibly hate on that the way that people do, you know, like, for me, I thought it was awesome, you know, and the fact that it gave Daredevil a new suit, had Daredevil out on the West Coast, you know, like, it was just a fresh vibe for this character. And it was the first time we had seen him since like Spider-Man No Way Home. So like, we knew he was back in the MCU, but not back in his own show yet. So then She-Hulk happens, and then that, I think, greenlights the idea for Daredevil Born Again to eventually happen. And, you know, they continue on now for Daredevil Born Again Season 2 that's airing currently on the channel. And if you guys missed, the breakdown for episode 2 and 3 dropped at the same time this week. So there's a dual breakdown for both of those episodes out on the channel now. So go check that out if you haven't. And I believe there's breakdowns for all of She-Hulk as well, if you want to go back and check those out from a couple years ago. But the figure herself for She-Hulk, maybe the face could have used a different expression. Maybe she could have been smiling like she is on the box. And there was a few parts on the figure that I was like, oh, maybe the articulation could be a little bit better. Like the wrists and like the elbows on the arms feel like a little tight, or maybe it's the shoulders on the arms. But then also the legs, you know, like, I don't know. I felt like they had articulation, but then they also felt clunky, you know, and maybe it needed like a more sturdy crotch grabber to be able to hold this figure in dynamic poses. But also maybe she could have came with some more hands. I don't know. Mostly my complaint with this figure is the face head sculpt. You know, maybe it could have been slightly better. But for the grand scheme of things, like the hair on the figure looks phenomenal. The actual body type of the figure looks phenomenal. This figure is so cheeked up, it's ridiculous. I can't even believe how much ass this figure has. But I like that also the bases pair up well together, and they have the same type of vibe with the purple, green, purple for She-Hulk, and then like the maroon, yellow, maroon for Daredevil, with She-Hulk, Attorney at Law on the top of the base, and then She-Hulk and Daredevil on the front of the bases. Yeah, I really dig how these two are looking next to each other, and I think that I'm going to toss these two on the shelf together, but I don't have a spot currently picked out for them, so I think I'm going to have to rearrange this entire room this weekend to free up space, which I am not looking forward to. So I am not going to do at the current moment. I'll wait until over the weekend, but I also have Easter to deal with over the weekend, so I don't know. Happy Easter to everybody, but I will be putting these figures on the shelf very soon, but not quite yet. So if you guys do want to see a video about the shelves rearranging, drop a comment down below and I'll get that video out for you guys. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this She-Hulk figure or on the She-Hulk television show. What were your thoughts on it? You don't have to agree with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts either way. And, you know, just be respectful and nice, and I'll be respectful and nice back. But any assholes, they'll be getting asshole cam right back, and they don't want that, I promise. But, you know, I'm so hyped that Daredevil is out right now and that we're getting more Daredevil in the MCU proper. And if you guys missed yesterday's unboxing for that Daredevil in his yellow and red suit, go check out that video. And if you've made it this far, I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you for supporting the channel. And if you'd like to do that further, please drop a like on this video. Commenting down below is a great way to support the channel. Subscribing if you haven't already. Hitting that share link button, even if you just hit share, copy link, that helps the channel a lot. But sending this to a friend definitely goes a long way. And if you don't want to miss future Hot Toys figure unboxings and you want to get the notification when that comes out, make sure you guys hit the bell. Once again, my name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another Hot Toys figure unboxing. And I'll see you guys next week for another 2 figures. And go check out the 101 figure collection tour that came out last week. I worked really hard on that, so I hope you guys like it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.